All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Cougar Central. My name is Colby Marshall, and I am the host. I'm here with Christopher DiSanto, the new wrestling coach here at Kean University. He'll be taking over the men and the women starting next year. Super excited to have him here just for a little chat. I want to talk a little bit about the recent rise we've seen in wrestling, both on the men and the women's side. And when you think about not only the college level, but high school, the professional level with the Olympics. I feel like wrestling is really on the rise. Talk a little bit about that. What do you think has contributed to that rise in recent years?
I think it's just an increase of participation, and that goes along with some of the different. It's a different sport from compared to like all your other, football, softball, baseball. Wrestling is just different in all aspects. It teaches you a lot about. You can apply a lot of what you learn in wrestling to life. With the Olympics coming up, they just had the women's wrestling, so that was pretty big in getting the word out. There's a lot of social media people who get the word out about wrestling, especially on the women's side. With the increase of women's wrestling, you're also increasing the men's side because the word's getting out about wrestling. So, you hear, you have this school who has women's wrestling, and I'm a man. And I didn't know my school had wrestling. Now here I am. Oh, well, let me get into wrestling. MMA is definitely bringing attention to our sport. The best MMA people wrestled. Mm-hmm. Look at Bo Nickel. He's like a 4-time national champ in wrestling, and he's undefeated in UFC. Ron Jones, he's another national champ, doing really well in UFC. So it all translates to that. And with the rise of the UFC becoming so big, I think that wrestling plays a major part in that. And people want to learn how to wrestle so that they can participate in MMA. WWF, I didn't know it wasn't like that when I stepped on that mat first time. I had no idea what to expect. I did lose every match in second grade. Didn't win one match, and I kind of gave up on it. And then in 7th grade, I kind of got back into it, watching my older brother wrestle in high school. His last year in high school really kind of kind of influenced me a little bit to try again. And then I had some really good recreation coaches who played a huge influence on why I kept coming back. And I got a little bit better. In my 8th grade year, I got a little bit better. And then by the time I got to high school, I wasn't a great freshman. I was starting 189 on varsity, and maybe I had a 9-16 record. But I was winning, so it kind of just,
Got 9 wins.
if you just keep winning, and I was enjoying it. And then sophomore year, I got a little bit better, and so on and so forth. So, those are the things that influenced me in high school. Once I got out of high school, I came here and we didn't have a team. So I didn't really have any place to go. I did join a fraternity, and I met some fraternity brothers who wrestled in high school. I worked at East Campus as a lifeguard, and they have a wrestling room. They had a wrestling room down there, or at least mats. So that's where I'd get my fun time. And a bunch of my fraternity brothers would go down to East Campus, and we'd roll around, have a couple scraps. But that's where I really got better as a wrestler. I have an older brother, and he was coaching Union City. Union City was a new program at the time. They just started it, and he asked me if I wanted to help out. So I would go with him, and I'd coach. We did for about 6 or 7 years. And then that was it. I stopped wrestling. Kind of took some time off for no reason. I didn't really have a place to wrestle. Right? I moved back home with my parents, and I went to work after college. It wasn't until I got a job at Bergen Community College where I was in the hallways one day, and I realized they had a wrestling team.
Wow.
And I was just fortunate enough to be in that hallway that day and to walk in and meet the coach, and Ed Kojaki. He's a 3-time state champ for New Jersey. And I asked him if he needed help. and he was very kind to me, and he said, come on, you can come on any day you want. So I helped him out for a year. By my third year of volunteering, he was retiring.
Wow.
And he recommended that I take over. So I've been doing that now since 2016.
What kind of went into the decision to come here and to bring wrestling back to Kean University?
It's a great question. I love working at Bergen. This is where I work full time. But I just needed to change. I wasn't feeling the support that I feel like I am here. The support here from the administrators, news, the media is just unbelievably, and it's just unbelievable. I wouldn't have thought this coming in, and now that I'm here, I'm like, wow, this is great. This is a 4-year school. They're going to support you, and especially because wrestling's, I feel like wrestling, they just hired a wrestling coach, they just started a program, so they want to throw a lot of that support, and I love it. I feel it. I'm into it. I dig it. I can't wait to start the season.
That's awesome. That's really exciting. So you spent the past few years at Bergen. What do you think, with your experience there, how has that influenced your view on what it takes to be a successful program
Sure.
that you're going to bring here to Kean?
Consistency, discipline, culture, right? Those are few things that I focus on. I feel like if you're consistent in life too, right? If we're consistent in life, we're gonna go far, right? Consistency is everything. I can, for an example, losing weight. You can have a good 3 weeks and then, poop the bed and you gotta go back on it. But if you're consistently eating good, you're gonna consistently lose the weight. This is the same thing in wrestling. If you go at it every day, you're gonna get better every day. So you got to be consistent and you got to be disciplined. It's not all about wrestling. There are other influences that go along with being a good wrestler, like your diet, your health. I feel that's overlooked because everybody's so focused on wrestling. But then you have that weight cut. So now you're focused on cutting weight, but not wrestling. So all that plays a big role in my philosophy and just how I coach. I don't have anybody cut weight on my team, unless they're within 3 or 4 pounds. When I talk about cutting weight, I'm talking about 10, 15 pounds, 2 days before you're gonna wrestle. It's mind blowing to me that people cut that much weight before you're gonna wrestle and then expect to wrestle good.
It's not healthy.
You're not going to wrestle good. You're going to be weak. You're going to be tired. You haven't focused on wrestling. All you've been doing is focusing on your
Not eating.
not eating. Right, not eating.
I would want to ask you, what kind of profile are you looking for, a wrestler that's going to be on Kean, going to be within the program? What kind of, student athlete, what kind of character do you want here? And how has that played into your overall recruiting so far?
In general, I want somebody who wants to come here and learn, right? Whether it be in the classroom, in the wrestling room, somebody who's coachable. And that's not hard to find, right? And you can develop that, right? So I don't expect everybody to come in here to be an amazing student. But what I do expect is them to try and to give an effort. Or what does an effort look like? It's being consistent, it's being disciplined. Is being everything that we just talked about. That's what I'm looking for. I really just want somebody to come to Kean and school first, family, wrestling, something like that. And if you're a religious, God, family, wrestling. I want you to feel that you're going to be taken care of when you come here. All right, I'm going to create a culture of love and family and build off that.
Nice. And you talked about, I think, a lot of different philosophies and values that you have: the love, consistency, the kindness. Talk a little bit more about your coaching style when it comes to wrestling. What can your student athletes expect in that regard, as far as the other philosophies that you have wrestling wise?
Sure. So it's going to be a hard practice, very hard practice. I like to drill a lot. I don't do a lot of live wrestling in the beginning. of the season. I like them to want to wrestle.
Okay.
So when you get to your match, you haven't wrestled a lot, but now you get to your match and you want to wrestle. You're itching for it. That's not to say that we don't live wrestle. It's not a lot. It's more drilling, conditioning, and preparing you for your debut. Your first match. And we're gonna show them the basics, and that's good for us coaches too, right? We're teaching now the basics over again. So some of the things that you might have not forgot, but
Took for granted.
Yeah,
maybe a
took for
little bit.
granted, right? Now you're relearning this stuff too. So it's actually really, really cool. It's going to be a really cool process to teach somebody who's brand new, and then go to your men's practice where these possibly been wrestling for 15 years, and now getting into more advanced. So it's going to be a really cool overall experience for men and then women. And it's exciting. It's super exciting to learn about a new team. It's super exciting to start a new season. I'm always excited to start a new season, but this year I feel like more pumped.
As you should.
Division III, I'm ready to rock.
That's
I'm
awesome.
ready to go right now. Get my team
Take it
on.
to the mat.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, yeah, honored to help this get kick-started and to help
Yes.
you get, like you said, voicing everything out. So
Yes, I appreciate you having me on. This
No.
has been a wonderful experience.
thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.